or afternoon. So this week we want to look at using a spreadsheet to create a simple company invoice. We want to make sure you know the difference between cells, rows and columns, and you can make calculations going vertically, horizontal or on specific cells. We're also going to look at how we can just calculate a percentage as well. So we're going to do this again either using Excel or Google Sheets. This is what we're going to create, an invoice. So an invoice is something, if you run a company, you provide a service or you provide a product, at some point you need to get paid, otherwise it's pointless running a business. You need to get paid the right amount. To do this, you would generally send out an invoice. So on your invoice, you need your company name. You would normally have some sort of invoice number. So in sort of 4 weeks' time, when someone sends you the money in, you can go, hang on a minute, how much money were you supposed to send me? Make sure they've sent you enough. You need a date on your invoice so you can see, well, how long till this is overdue. That's up to you what your payment terms are. Within your invoice, you need to list out what someone purchased from you. So you'd normally have some sort of item code that you would create yourself, a description of the product you've sold them, the unit price for the product, so that's just for one item. I'm basing this around the idea of just getting t-shirts printed with designs. So I could order these online and then just pass them on to the customer. So if I've got a unit price and I've got a quantity, I can multiply these two cells to get a total over here. I can do the same here, and I get totals down here. I then get a subtotal. Now, if I'm selling something, I generally need to, depending on the type of company I am, but I would need to add VAT, value added tax. This is a percentage that goes back to the government to pay for services in the country. So that at the moment in this country is set at 20%. So we need to calculate what is 20% of my subtotal, add the 20%, and I get the final total here. Now, the great thing about doing this in a spreadsheet is once I've got my value set up and I just go, hang on a minute, I'm going to sell some more, we can see I just change the quantity there and the total price changes there and the total all just self-automates down here. Once I've got this set up, I can just copy and paste this and put more things in. So I'm going to change the price here to £25. And again, it just automatically calculates what I'm owed. Takes out all the human error. So let's have a look how we set this up. So first thing I'm going to do is just set up the information I need. So I was going to have company name, invoice, number, and date. I'm going to leave a line, a row here just for sort of formatting. You can always insert these columns afterwards. I'm going to have an item code, an item description, the unit cost, that's the cost per item, the quantity or the amount, and the total. Okay, so now I'm just going to drag these around a bit. Now, because my description is going to be a little bit longer than these cells here, I'm going to hover up here, and you see when I float, that arrow comes up like that, and I'm just going to stretch this out to make that wider. Okay, I'm just going to set up one. So like I say, the item description you can just make up yourself. And you don't have to do this around t-shirts. You could be selling luxury cars. You could be a sports coach selling time. So the amount of hours you spent training with someone. Item description, so I'm just going to sell a full colour t-shirt. I'm going to say at the moment that's going to be £23.99. Now, notice it hasn't put a pound sign on here yet. I'm going to sell 3 of these to start with. Okay, so to get my total, remember from last week, we need to put the equal sign in. That way Excel or Google Sheets knows that you want to carry out some sort of mathematical formula. I'm going to do equal sum. It's good practice just to put these two things in a bracket. Now last week we just dragged like this. That will add those two values together. This is not what I want to do. Yeah, I want 3 times this. So double click in there. I'm going to get rid of these bits of the cell. So I'm now going to go, I want this cell by clicking on it, or you can just type in the details, multiplied by this cell here. It doesn't matter which way round these cells are because it's a multiplication. If we were doing subtraction, it does matter which way around they are, but we're not. So there's my total. I'm just going to do a quick check. So if I change that to 4, does it change? Yes, it does. So that's working. Okay, now I am just going to copy these down here a bit. Now, so when you drag and drop, if you've got simple numbers like this, Excel and Sheets will quite often auto-calculate for there. I'm using a Mac and I have to hold the Shift key down to do that. Again, I'm just going to drag these down and I'm just going to change the names quickly so they become different products. This one can be £5, this one can be $13.99. Okay, I'm going to put some different quantities in here. Okay, now, I don't want to type this formula over and over again. So what I can do, grab this little handle on the side here and just drag that down. That's total all those up. Now, what I might as well do is just carry on dragging this down for about 10 rows, and that would allow me in future to put extra quantities in here. Okay, down here, I want some totals. So, first thing I want is my subtotal. This is not the price. So now we're back to what we did last week, where we are adding this column to here. And you can see I've dragged and dropped that. If you see up here, it's writing the formula up here as I drag and drop it. Oh, I've clicked out of that. So, classic mistake, I didn't put equals in. So drag and drop that, close the brackets, and that's giving me my total there. Now I need to add some VAT, my value added tax. Okay, so what I want to know is what is 20% of that? And I can work this out by going sum, and I want to know what 20% is. So if I multiply this by 0.2, I will get 20%. So if I go sum of that, now multiply, we use the asterisk. Okay, there isn't a times sign on a computer keyboard. You don't use the X, you use the asterisk. I'm going to multiply that by 0.2. Check that, and that's giving me 20%. Now my total will be those two added together. So again, equals sum, and I could either go that plus that, or I can just drag and drop like that much quicker. Okay, so that's all the information I need, but I don't think my customers are going to be particularly impressed with my invoice at the moment. So I'm just going to try and make it look a bit better. I'm just going to squeeze this up here so we get everything on the screen. So these I'm going to put a grid round. There we go. I'm also going to center justify everything. That's personal choice. I'm going to do the same here. Now, what I'm going to do here, because I've already done the formatting, if I click on one of my cells and I click the paint format, and then I go over like that, that will copy that formatting. Now I want to draw the customer's attention to what they've actually got to play. So I'm going to bold this, and I'm also going to put it in a color. Now I'm going to use green at the moment because I might want to send them an angry invoice when they don't pay, and I might want that one in red. Okay, next thing. They don't know what the currency is at the moment. So I'm going to select, so everything in this column can be in pounds. So if I go into format, and I want number, British pound sterling. If you can't find it, go into more formats and more currencies. But British pound sterling is what we want this in, and that's changed that to pounds. It's also worked out automatically, actually. You might have to format this one as well, but it's gone, because you did it here, it's calculated here. I've now got all my values to 2 decimal places in British pounds. Okay, so you guys can add in the details here if you wanted to. You could float a logo of your company up here. You could design in Google Draw or something like that. But that is essentially how we can create a very simple company. I'm also going to put some information up about how we would screen print these t-shirts. And something you could do as well is actually look at how much that actually costs you to set up your own company. Surprisingly little. Okay, have a good week, and I look forward to seeing your spreadsheets uploaded onto Google Classroom. Thank you.